church here, and then we have a hospital here. It seems to me that if we believe in quote unquote faith, that healing and faith or health and faith should probably be in the same building.
Relaxing the face, starting with the forehead, you just behind your eyelids, if your eyelids are closed, just visualize from the top of your head all the way down to right below your chin. Focus on relaxing each part of your face.
It's diagnosed with POTS. It's more common today. And I've actually heard people tie it to a consequence and sort of associated with even well-known viruses that we've been subjected to recently. What is faith? What does that word mean anyway? A lot of definitions in the world today. And does faith have a connection to a healthy life or a healthy lifestyle? Our answer to those questions would be probably yes, it does. Probably there is such a thing as faith that really is defined correctly as doing something. And so when I talk about faith and healthy lifestyle, sweetheart, it seems like a remote connection because in America, we've done a very good job of segregating the idea of faith and health. We have a church here, and then we have a hospital here. It seems to me that if we believe in quote unquote faith, that healing and faith or health and faith should probably be in the same building. Just a thought. So comment on that.
Well, we know that individuals with faith or that have a faith oftentimes fare better with the diagnosis of a terminal illness. And I'm just going to take you to a scripture for just a second. This says, do you not know that your bodies are the temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have received from God, and that you are not your own, and you were bought with a price. Therefore, honor God with your body. That's 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 19 and 20. Now, when you read that, it gives you a sense of wanting or motivation to take care of this temple, that when you take care of the temple and you're mindful of it, the outcome is going to be better.
Well, so, faith in something, and in this case, you're talking about faith in God, that gives us hope. Hope
That's right.
is what drives us to good actions. When people become hopeless, there's also a tangential term with that, faithless. When people are hopeful, they are also generally faithful. And you talk about that scripture in 1 Corinthians 6, which is one of my favorite. To even get that idea, you have to have faith that God made the physical body, and if he did so, we're to honor that greatest creation because he made mankind and said, hey, man, that's good. Of course, when he made you, he said, that's very good, But the bottom line is there's faith there. So when people have an outlook that something's better, it tends to drive them to better actions, which drives them to better health overall, right?
Yes, and of course, when you have faith, it also helps reduce the stress that could potentially lie upon you, like it's all you, it's all your fault. That burden becomes so great. And when we have faith, we can actually take the yoke upon us, which helps to reduce that grind of stress.
So it's really about peace, isn't it? When you have a faithful, it could be F-U-L and F-U-L-L, I guess, but faithful and hopeful scenario in your life, something to hope for, something to have faith in, it can help you carry on and help you have a better outlook potentially and help you be more at peace inside because it gives you a reason. When you have no reason, it is not unreasonable to give up hope, is it? But when you have reason to go on. It gives us the ability to feed that hope. So hopefulness and even reasonableness gives us this identity of being able to go forward. So I think it's without question, we want people to consider having faith in God and actually seeking out that truth, whatever that looks like in you or wherever you are. But we also know that it does have an integral part in a positive way with our health.
Yeah, it just makes me excited as a clinician to see people more motivated, less stress. And then, of course, when you're less stressed, think of the things that come with that, that there's less potential to overeat and cause other problems. And what does stress bring with it? That thing called high tension or hypertension. So when we have faith, and we know that there is something greater, oftentimes it can ease that tension or high tension, and we might not even need 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 blood pressure medications if we have a little faith.
It's funny. I was thinking here of a scripture that just came to my mind. Faith without works is dead. Let me just translate that. Like, here's what that means. If you talk a bunch of faith, but you have no actions to match it up, you just wasted a good conversation. You become a perpetual word salad, and you should be eating the salad. So faith without works is dead. We need to not just talk it out. We need to live it out. And, people might say, well, don't preach me a sermon. Fine, I won't.
You do the sermon.
But we need to do it and live it.
Yes.
That's the point. The greatest sermons out there are not ones you hear online. They're not ones you hear in person. They're not ones you see on the internet. They're certainly not ones you hear on a cell phone somewhere. They are lived out in what you see every day. That's when you live it out. And that's what faith can do for one. It gives one the purposes. It gives one the processes and even the ability and awareness to go forward.
Absolutely. And of course, we know with faith, you're going to have a better sense of mental well-being. That thing called anxiety and depression can become eased if we have a better sense of well-being and a faith or a hope in things not seen.
So faith promotes peace and ease. Lack of faith can promote anxiety and dis-ease.
If you need a little help, read our book, The Narrow Road. What's all this scuttle about the military sleep method?
Well, it's not about yelling at you. It's actually about improving your sleep. Find out about it next.
Our flagship product is called Kingdom Fuel. Tell us a little bit about Kingdom Fuel and why it's so good.
We saw people struggling with the idea and concept of it's too expensive to eat healthy. So we thought, okay, that's the problem. Let's find a solution. So we found a solution for $5 or under per meal. And that represented the birth of the idea of Kingdom Fuel. So Kingdom Fuel is organic pea protein. It's got greens and reds in it. So this is the phytonutrients from green plants and red plants that we all talk about. Eat your vegetables, right? It's also got vitamins and minerals in it. So it's got a complete complex of that. And it's got also soluble and insoluble fiber, which the difference between the two is profound. Soluble actually gathers moisture and makes you full, and the insoluble goes through the system and grabs things like damaged particles.
The body runs on nutrients. It doesn't run on medication. And Kingdom Fuel is a complete multivitamin and mineral.
Introducing OK Movie Stream, your ticket to a world of cinematic classics and wonders, right from the heart of Oklahoma and the surrounding areas.
Baby, take a walk under the moonbeams.
Dive into a world of captivating stories and extraordinary talent, all on OK Movie Stream.
You got to believe, y'all.
Choose the option that suits you best. Watch for free with commercials, binge watch your favorites for 3 days, or unlock ad-free streaming for just $10 a year. Join the OK Movie Stream community today and embark on a cinematic journey like never before.
I don't know about you, but I have to have that cup of coffee in the morning. And Kingdom Cup is mold-free, it is pesticide-free, and it is organic. It's got this flavor that is delicious. You don't even have to put cream or sweetener in it.
And it's Kingdom Cup with a K, right? So this is important. 50% of all coffee at least contains mold. And this is a key thing. That's in bean form, right? So you're going to be a little grinder. They're just a few bucks. grind it up, put it in your maker, and make it. Why did we go with the bean form, the whole bean? Because ultimately the powder form is the one that gathers the most moisture. And that means the more potential mold development. So this is actually organic, mold-free, certified. It's got a little certificate with it. That's important because ultimately people drink coffee. It's cultural. And so we tried to meet the culture where it is and create a healthy alternative. You know, when I think about the military, there's a ton of disciplines there that I really appreciated. I'm gripped and really focused in on this idea of boot camp where there's no sleep. But did you know something that we found interesting? We recently read an article on there is something called the military sleep method. You've heard us talk about sleep so many times, but what if there was a method that might help improve your ability to not just go to sleep, but stay asleep? And it was generated with kind of a military mindset. Fascinating. Talk about that.
Yeah, and so many people are on sleep medications and haven't tried just the simple things to see if they can help their sleep sanitation. So we're going to talk about a few things in this military sleep method. It sounds so militant, but it's really soft and easy and gentle if we'll just put them into place. Number one is deep breathing. Number two is relaxing your face. Number three would be dropping your shoulders and your arms while you're relaxing in bed. Number four would be working your way downward. And number five, clearing your mind. Why don't you tell us a little bit about deep breathing?
Well, first of all, when we think about deep breathing, we need to understand it's the opposite of shallow breathing. And what is shallow breathing? Shallow breathing might be up here. And so if you can, I want you to kind of think right here. I want you to go ahead and this might seem weird, but wherever you are, stop. If you're driving, don't do it later. Put your hand right here and just, I want you to do shallow breaths like this. You know, you're going to see your shoulders bounce. You'll see your chest rise up. Shallow breathing is shallow inhalation, shallow exhalation. So it's a really rapid breathing. It actually occurs when we stress out a little bit, where you kind of do this. Now, deep breathing, on the other hand, is push downward. So you can also do the same things, hands here. Go down here and put your hands right there across your navel. And if you can see this, and you're looking at me, and I'm going to demonstrate this in a very robust manner so you can see it. If you work on diaphragmatic breathing or downward breathing, when you inhale, stomach comes out. When you exhale, stomach goes back. Upper body doesn't move. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. You can even practice that by lying on your back and putting a book, put a big old Bible on your belly and work on Bible lifts with your belly, right? So the bottom line is that forces the body to go from a stress response into a relaxation response. I learned that technique when I was actually a sniper on the SWAT team, right, years and years ago, and it can help you force the relaxation response. So I thought, without question, that's the most important to do first.
Is deep breathing.
You bet.
And then, all of the gates are mainly in the head besides touch: sight, ears, hearing, speaking, smelling. So relaxing the face, starting with the forehead, you just behind your eyelids, if your eyelids are closed, just visualize from the top of your head all the way down to right below your chin. Focus on relaxing each part of your face, specifically the tongue. We think about how much we talk every single day, and we lay down at night and we still have this extreme amount of tension around our oral cavity, still around the back of our eyeballs and our brain. So relaxing the face is the second part of that military sleep sanitation. Third is going to be dropping your shoulders and your arms. Why would that be important?
Well, it's important because it's almost like a waterfall. Waterfall has a lot of power, but you hit that at the bottom of that waterfall, it makes the power, but then it flows. And it's always been mesmerizing to look at a waterfall. But think about this as you relax from here downwards, even going into number 4. Think about it being like pouring a pitcher of water on your head, and it goes down. So think about it going down. And if you think about the relaxation process like flowing water going down, that's a good visualization you can get. Perhaps when you work on the breathing and you start trying to relax, and imagery part of that, think about the waterfall going down. And, generally that's a good way to sort of get that total body relaxation.
Well, and we oftentimes just come to terms with the fact that we're still holding a lot of tension, maybe in our abdomen or maybe in one leg more than the other because we've got an injury. So focusing on relaxing each body part is very, very essential. And then last but not least, totally clearing your mind. Why would that be important?
Well, the mind is an active thing. The mind is outside of the brain. I look at this like the idea of, the mind being a funnel to the outside world, with the end of that funnel going into your brain to provide that pharmaceutical drive of stress or not. So to clear the mind out really is to actively put things that actually are peaceful into the mind. So when we talk about the imagery, the waterfall, the relaxation, maybe a beach somewhere, imagining the waves. That's why some of these sound machines work pretty well. That is important, because if your mind is active like that and you have these perpetual stressful, like what if I don't get this done thoughts, or fear thoughts, or this is coming tomorrow thoughts, it will disturb your sleep patterns. So that's a great technique. I mean, I don't really understand why it's entitled military method.
Should be the parasympathetic method.
Yeah, it should be a method that we all like. Anybody should do this. Military, call it paramilitary, call it non-military if you want. We need to do this thing. You heard those 5 steps there, 1, 2, 3, 4. Work those things. Listen to this over and over again. And if you need some help from not a non-pharmaceutical standpoint, we love 2 products, Alpha Theta PM Ultra, Alpha Theta PM Ultra, and also magnesium glycinate. Those can help in an immense way. So here's to a wonderful, great night's sleep, not just tonight, but every night.
POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome.
What is that? Find out next. Our Kingdom Candy with a K again. 2 flavors. We got salted
Delicious.
caramel and peanut butter. These are great. I mean, they're
kind of like a complete meal.
Yeah, they're 200 calories. People want to know that all the time. And not that we're worried about calories, but these things have great ingredients. They're not sweetened with sugars. They don't have those false sugars or fake sugars or artificial
They've got
sugars.
fiber in them.
They do. It's interesting. Salted caramel crunch is our newest flavor. We'll come up with some other stuff at some point, but those can bridge the gap of that sweet tooth craving. They're sweetened with monk fruit, and that's really, if you know what that is, it's not going to raise blood sugar.
It's really only 2 grams of sugar. I refer to it as the sweet without the cheat.
Any of these things out here are designed to be money-saving, nutrition-giving, and life-enhancing. And this is a big deal. So you'll find out, like thousands of other people did, that these things will help you live healthy longer. The body's amazing at recovery, so you want to give it every chance, no matter what time it is. So in that context, no, it's certainly never too late. You're never too old to start trying to be healthy.
No matter where you are in terms of your health, that you can turn this around.
It's never too late to start a wellness program, and it's never too late to reach your healthcare goals. There's an old adage, and I'm not sure where it came from, but I really do like it. And they say the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today.
We just want people to hang on to hope.
We are hope dealers. And if you are not paying attention to the 4 foundational pillars of health, physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual, eventually it is going to catch up.
If we get all those 4 areas right, and we do it right, we see a dynamic occur in the middle called wellness, and that's where people get better. Their health is really going to return as a side effect of wellness.
Let's get real. Most emergency food is just as bad for you as any other choice in the standard American diet. And that's just sad.
We don't just need food. We need highly nutritional food.
We don't just want to survive food shortages. We are meant to thrive in adversity.
Complete your daily nutrition and have shelf-stable Kingdom Fuel as a cornerstone of your food supply.
Don't sacrifice your health or your taste buds.
Stock up on Kingdom Fuel now.
Today's topic is a common topic, more common than you think, a topic called POTS. Well, what does that stand for? It stands for Postural Orthostatic Tachycardia Syndrome.
We need to stay with POTS probably for most people. Funny thing about that, I've heard a lot of people recently that have been quote unquote diagnosed with POTS. It's more common today. And I've actually heard people tie it to a consequence and sort of associated with even well-known viruses that we've been subjected to recently.
Well, oftentimes it is tied to a consequence, the consequence of being acutely ill for long periods of time. It could be a tick-borne illness. It could be mold illness. It could be the Epstein-Barr virus. It could be any number of things that just exhaust the adrenals and create this instability of the blood pressure to normalize itself from sitting to standing. What does POTS really stand for? P is postural, O is orthostatic, T is tachycardia, and S is syndrome. So when you go from sitting to standing, changing posture, your blood pressure can adapt quickly enough so your heart rate goes up, causing all these symptoms like dizziness, lightheadedness, faintness, feeling like you're going to pass out, and just a syndrome of weakness.
We've seen that a lot lately. And anytime I hear the word syndrome, as a general rule, I'm thinking, okay, I don't want to own that. I think that that's a group of symptoms that are classified as a quote unquote syndrome, but is it a condition or is it a response, a result of many, many symptoms that result from something else? I think it's the latter. And I look at that whole idea, if it's really having a hard time controlling blood pressure, I want to get the vascular system improved. I want to figure out what impairs that. I want to figure out maybe they've got some electrolyte imbalances, maybe that they have some nitric oxide deficiencies, maybe they're eating inflammatory foods, and all those areas really do play a part.
Well, we do find that it's more common in young women, the ages of 15 to 50, it's more common. Again, after a consequential illness, and oftentimes that system is unfit.
Yep.
So starting to slowly return to exercise, where you start moving the system or ambulating the system more frequently, increasing the fitness level. What pumps blood back to the heart is going to be the muscles in the lower legs. So if the lower legs are weak, there may be an increase in that syndrome of POTS.
Yep.
Something else that really helps is compression stockings. I know they're very uncomfortable. You can get over-the-counter stockings that have less millimeters of mercury in the compression, so they aren't as hard to get on and they're not as uncomfortable in the heat. But those compression stockings really help return blood to the heart in a system that may have perhaps weak valves in the vessels of the legs. And that's a genetic inherited issue that oftentimes without compression stockings, we can't ever get ahead of.
Well, you mentioned two things right there, really kind of cool. One of the signs of that is an accumulation of fluid lower because it doesn't have the power to get it back, which would make sense with the dizziness. Another thing, when you talk about exercise, a lot of people really get hung up on that and get told they can't exercise, but they can. It's called a recumbent bike. Sit down there and pedal your legs. You're not going from sitting to standing. You're not moving that up and down. You're working those legs. You're working that heart. That is incredibly beneficial for conditions like this.
Yes, there is also, if we don't think about it, we can become dehydrated because we're not drinking enough fluid. And then if we're not drinking enough fluid, oftentimes we get low in electrolytes. So simply adding a little scoop of Celtic or Himalayan salt or even a balanced electrolytes to water can help improve the nutrients that the adrenals need to actually make those stress hormones. If the adrenals get exhausted or there's an imbalance in the ability to make stress hormones, there might be an inability to maintain blood pressure. Also, if those things don't work, there, of course, are medications that we can reach for as a last resort.
Well, and they would be last resort because I think that what we've seen a lot of times is we'll tell people to just have a little bit of water with maybe a half teaspoon or quarter teaspoon of one of those salts. You can use, and it's one of my favorites, you can use like an ATP Ignite or an ATP Ignite workout, which has electrolytes. We're talking about, that calcium, potassium, sodium, those things like that. And even if you sweat a lot, right? Let's think about this. You could actually drain those electrolytes out there. So even while you're exercising, sitting down, you would want to replete with those electrolytes and sort of, it's not that you want to sit down on a recumbent bite and do that all the time. You eventually want to stand up, but just stand up slowly and think about from sitting to standing slowly until you get that body time to catch up. And I think you can get out of that syndrome personally.
One of the tricks that we always teach people is focus your eyes on a point in the distance and then stand up if you have POTS or postural orthostatic tachycardic syndrome.
Yeah, and that works great. And we've seen this a lot of times. And I think that the downside of this is that people that sort of have been quote unquote diagnosed with POTS, they begin to say, I have POTS, and they realize they never realize they can't get out of that, but they can. And maybe they're on a blood pressure, like some beta blocker or something like that.
Isostigmine. Something
Totally. They're on that. Can you get off? The answer is yes, but you need some guidance through clinician help like we're talking about to sort of work your way out of that syndrome and basically get it fixed. So if you're out there and you know somebody or you've been quote unquote diagnosed with the POTS syndrome, so to speak of, there are ways out. You can listen to this particular segment over and over again to get some tips and employ each of these, and you can perhaps get free from that crazy POTS syndrome.
Let's get real. Most emergency food is just as bad for you as any other choice in the standard American diet. And that's just sad.
We don't just need food. We need highly nutritional food.
We don't just want to survive food shortages. We are meant to thrive in adversity.
Complete your daily nutrition and have shelf-stable Kingdom Fuel as a cornerstone of your food supply.
Don't sacrifice your health or your taste buds.
Stock up on Kingdom Fuel